Hello everybody, thank you for choosing this podcast and tuning in again. I'm an ordinary girl, as you know, so I'm hoping to share my stories and journey and expert advice in my episodes. I feel like it's so important for real people who are pretty average to speak up more. I mean, we live in a very materialistic society. So to have real people be real with you just encourages others to be more honest and transparent, in my opinion. I feel like this series of episodes of how to live by yourself is going to be so useful to many of you independent beauties out there. So how are you feeling today? This time of year just feels really slow, I find. I do find a beauty in that though. I can work really hard on projects and things I want to improve in my life without feeling like I don't have any time. I mean, I find it hard sometimes because I'm such a social butterfly and super extroverted. By this I mean I thrive socially. I feel recharged being around other people. And then again, I do also like my own time and personal space. And I wonder if any of you can relate to that. So today I'm feeling pretty stressed. I quit my job and I did that because I was just unhappy. Like, I wasn't improving. I haven't earned more money in years. Like, I was taking on more workload every day, and I don't do well with change, granted. I do get really stressed and overwhelmed, but I'm learning to identify that and move on from it and just accept things. The world changes around you every day. But at the same time, I can adjust to taking on more tasks and work harder. It doesn't take a very long time to get used to something, maybe a couple of weeks max. However, it's been going on for months that I will get up in the morning, go to work, make my lunch, go to work, just solidly work for like 8 hours a day. Like, I don't really take a lunch break. Like, I would try and incorporate it into the day more towards the end of the week, but I usually eat while I'm working, or I just take 5 minutes to just nom my lunch. Then because of that, it gets to the end of the day, I drive home. It takes me almost an hour to drive to work and then drive home. And by the time I'm home, I'm so exhausted, I can't even make myself dinner. And sometimes I'd make myself dinner and then I'm going to bed with a full stomach, It's just not healthy to live that way. And, eating dinner at like 8 p.m. at night is not good for you, I mean, especially if you're getting up at like 6 a.m. to get ready to go to work. I can't really explain what I mean by that part. For people who are in the same situation, they might understand what I mean. Dedicating your whole life to a job and not really, like, I'm such a social person, so not being able to go and see my friends like I used to do every day, and fair enough, I'm not a teenager anymore, but I still like to go and see my friends. A lot of my friends have kids now. I don't get a chance to go and see them as much as I used to, and a lot of my friends, I feel like, are in the same position where they work so hard and they're just so shattered. They probably just want to be on their own most of the time. After I've had dinner and stuff, it's just a really awkward time for me to just show up to people's houses at like 10 p.m. for like not even an hour, because I have this routine now where I go to bed at 11, and I do the same thing on the weekends because I work on the weekends. So anyway, had enough of that moan. So today, my advice is, if you're not happy with your situation, just leave. I know that sounds a lot easier said than done, but I gave 6 weeks notice and I just thought, right, that's enough time for me to find myself a plan and a backup plan. I have in my mind what I want to work on. So I started a small business last year. It's called Burn My Mood, and I sell natural therapeutic remedies for mental health. A lot of them are things like candles, home fragrances, but I use only natural products, and everything apart from the ear candles are vegan friendly, because I feel like that's something that's really important in today's age. And on the social media, I provide a lot of motivational quotes, manifestations, affirmations, which can encourage people to feel better about themselves. Because whenever I felt down, depressed, stressed, and I'm just scrolling through social media to try and entertain myself, Quotes are something that really bring me in, like suck me into social media, because I feel them, you know? Like I feel the emotion and relate to them. So I felt like that was quite important to incorporate into that. With Burn My Mood, I'm going to be learning how to make candles with a machine, because I spent months doing it with pots and pans, and I've learnt a lot of things and I've destroyed a lot of things. That's very important to me to get onto this year, and to grow a social media platform and connect with a lot of the followers, which is something I'm very new with. As you can tell, if you've got Podcast J on social media, that's something I'm very new to. So trying to engage people into a platform where I hadn't at the time published my podcast, it's quite hard to build a social media. It's basically like just creating a second profile and exposing yourself a little bit more. So that's something else I'm working on. Something else I have been learning is I have been studying CBT, which is cognitive behaviour therapy. I'll be perfectly honest, I only started studying it because I couldn't afford therapy. So I thought I'll just learn what a therapist does. And to be honest, if any of you are like me and you can't afford it, I learned a lot. And it does really help. So once I have completed that course, I'm actually going to incorporate that into Burn My Mood. Hopefully I can help some people and give them a little bit of free therapy. It doesn't make me a psychiatrist or whatever the correct therapist name is. Sorry if I offend anyone. But I just feel like, you know, I can give all the advice, but I could be wrong. So that's why I took the course. I've completed 2 courses out of 25, but I've got a lot going on in my life at the minute, so I'm trying to allocate a day each for each thing in my life, because I'm going into a new job. It's not something that was my first choice. I didn't have a first choice. If I'm honest, I don't chase careers, I chase the money, because at the end of the day, that's how we survive, is using money to provide basic survival needs in life. Yeah, so you can thank our government for that, because if it was cheaper, we'd all be doing more fun jobs, like working in a bar. That is the funnest job ever. I used to work in bars, and I've still never found a job that is as fun as that. Sometimes it's a bit boring, you know, but it's easy. It's nice to talk to people constantly. Even with the really drunk, slurring customers, I just like creating conversation with people. So it's unfortunate that it doesn't really pay very well. Otherwise that would be something I would have as a career. Like, I've even heard sometimes owning pubs isn't really that great unless you've got something like a nightclub, but I don't know, I could be wrong about that. It's just what I've heard. Enough of my thoughts and feelings, let's get to it. In today's episode, I will be adding to the previous How to Live By Yourself series my experiments with food prepping, easy meals for one, and elaborating more on things I've already discussed. So in this episode, I will be going in depth about my experiments with food prepping, easy meals for one, and elaborating more on things I've already discussed. Something nobody told me when I moved into my own place was how hard it can be to cook a meal for one person. Like one portion size. I mean, I come from a household of 5. Whenever I would cook, I would just assume you would divide the portions by 5. I was just so wrong about that. I mean, if you can do that and it works, by all means do that. But I struggled to do that. When I first moved out, I would buy a lot of prepped food, and they always come in packs, like portion sizes of 4 or 2. So I thought I could just cook one half and eat the rest the next day. Though sometimes food goes off, and sometimes it just gets so boring eating the same meals every day. I shop in Aldi, usually, for my food. However, since I don't own a freezer, the food can go out of date pretty quickly. Aldi is great though. It's said to be like a value, cheap products place. But to be honest, coming from Tesco value food, Aldi is so much better for flavour and quality product. The reason Aldi is so cheap is because they create knockoff brands. So like you would find a popular brand such as Penguin chocolate bars and they call them something else, but they're exactly the same. The food has a shorter expiry date as well, and they don't usually play music, meaning they might not have a music license, and they also don't have conveyor belts, so I believe that's why the cost of the products is much lower than other supermarkets. But correct me if I'm wrong. The dangerous part about shopping in Aldi is the basket sections. There's these middle aisles, they have tons of random home products, beauty products, gardening products, and because they're so cheap, it's just like opposite the food you need. So you're like, well, I'll have that, I'll bag that, I've got loads of stuff from there. They do things like fleece blankets, stationery, plants, gardening stuff, baby stuff, gifts and seasonal offers. Because the products are insanely cheap, I just feel like I need it. But that's just my impulsive urge to buy sale stuff anyway. A quote I live by when it comes to budgeting your food shop is never shop when you are hungry. I think I mentioned that in the last episode as well. By this I mean, even though it is easier to do a food shop on your way home and before a meal, don't do it. Trust me, I can easily spend £20 more than I needed to because I was hungry. When you're hungry, you desire so much more. You create reasoning in your mind about why you need something or why you can buy something. And it sounds ridiculous, but I'm telling you, best piece of advice I ever read on the internet. If you don't believe me, don't have dinner after work when you're starving. Go and do a food shop. And then the next week, have dinner after work. Then go do a food shop. I guarantee you will spend less when you have a full stomach. I made all these mistakes first. I didn't have the time or chance to look into advice as I just assumed I'd be spending £50 a week on food. That's how I budget it. But you can significantly reduce the cost by writing a shopping list. This way you can meal prep, you can decide what you'll be cooking for the week, and even if you're cooking for a guest, you can estimate what will get you by into your next food shop trip. I tend to shop in the evenings now as well, after dinner on Thursdays usually. This way you can have a relaxing weekend and a great start to the week ahead without worrying about dinner on Mondays, because they're the worst day ever, or lunch prep for the week. For me personally, this is also the night I put the bins out, because the bins come on a Friday morning, when they clear it out. So it's good for me to be able to get rid of any food that has gone out of date, or just empty any boxes that have multi-packs in them, so I can write an accurate shopping list before I go out for a food shop. This also helps me make room for the food shop. I truly believe you should be making your lunches at home as well. Avoid buying lunches out. I did it for years. You spend a ton of money and you're probably not even full. It uses so much of your time during your said lunch break and when you should be relaxing. Otherwise, eating lunch can be seen like a chore. Most people get about half an hour to an hour break. You're using at least half an hour to go out, get that food. You're eating it on the way back. You're rushing because you've got to be back for a certain time when you should be having a break. So start meal prepping, okay? You can buy specific containers, or I got these Tupperware boxes from Aldi. They do them in multi-packs. So I've got small Tupperwares and then large ones. The large ones I find a lot handier because you can put, the whole lunch in there. But for things like chopped fruit or I'm trying to think, I don't have a huge selection of food choice when it comes to things. I'm quite fussy compared to most people. Some people make a muesli with yogurt or something. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but I don't eat that. But you can buy tubs where it separates the food and then you can mix it together. It's really handy. Yeah, and sometimes you can put things like fruit in that, or you can buy, make a salad with, separate meat and stuff like that. Utilise it. It's worth it. Now, get yourself a pen and paper. I'll be giving you my example of a food shop plan and how I write my list every single week. Now, firstly, go to the fridge. So I check the date of the milk. If it's almost empty or close to expiry date, I write down the milk and I will write down an expiry date which is at least 7 days from now, so I don't have to go out and buy milk again. I don't want to be revisiting the store for a week to get milk. Same applies to bread as well. So I've written down bread and milk and the dates next to them, just because I find they tend to go out of date the quickest, and they're the things I tend to use the most personally. I like to get myself a carton of juice or two, fresh orange juice. I need to put my fucking phone on silent. It's pissing me off. Aldi tends to have an offer for 2 cartons for £3, so I always write down 2 cartons. The apple and mango juice they do, 10 out of 10, and I always get a carton of orange because I like the taste of it. It's good for you. And I don't know about you, but always get the one with bits in. Sorry to those that don't like it. It's weird to me that people don't like that. It's like freshly done. Anyway, I look on the bottom shelf of my fridge where I keep my meat, and I set aside 3 meats for the week. Mince is really good for a lot of meals, so there's different types of mince you get. I just prefer the taste of beef. I have tried turkey though, that's alright, but I do prefer the beef one. It's great for a lot of meals. You can make spaghetti bolognese almost 4 times with the standard size meat. I'm talking about for one person, by the way. You can also make meatballs, tacos, and just so much more. You can literally make anything you want. I tend to regularly buy mince, always checking I can get at least 4 days out of it. Just remember, if you don't use it all in a meal for one, you can wrap it in cling film or one of those resealable bags to keep it from going off and helping keeping it fresh as well. Also, make sure you wrap it, otherwise your fridge fucking stinks. You don't want that to happen. Now, I don't really know why I've gone off chicken at the minute. I would probably grab fish cakes with the filling in. They're really nice. And pies. Pies go with everything, almost. Pies usually have at least a week until they expire, and then fish cakes can last most of the week. And fish cakes can last the week most of the time. Usually I would grab a pack of chicken breasts or diced chicken though, just because you can make so many meals with that. And you can make multiple, just make sure you always wrap it. Like I said, meat needs to always be kept vacuum wrapped, basically. Otherwise it goes off. It stinks, and it's just not in the same condition when you first opened it, so just seal that shit up. If you have time in the evenings after work, the cheaper way to buy chicken is actually to buy a whole chicken. So someone at work said this to me not long ago, at the job I just left, so I'm going to still call it work because I haven't started my new job yet. Someone at work suggested to me not long ago, why don't you just buy a whole chicken? Like, you get a whole week's worth of meals out of it. You can make multiple meals with it. And I was like, yeah, but I don't really know how to do that. Like, I make a roast dinner very rarely. And I'm usually, if I'm cooking a roast dinner with a whole chicken, I am absolutely avoiding cutting that because I don't really know what I'm doing, to be honest. No one ever taught me. Like, I know it sounds really stupid, you just cut the chicken, but I don't want to add the bones and stuff in it, you know? It's just, I've just always had an extra set of hands when I'm cooking a full roast meal. But I actually took his advice. I went into Aldi and I did the same in Tesco's as well, just to compare the pricing. Just because Aldi actually shuts at 10 and not 12 like Tesco's does. So in Aldi, they sell a whole chicken for like £3. I was like, this is cheaper than buying packs of diced chicken or packs of chicken breasts. Like, even the chicken breasts are like $2.79 or something like that. And that is so much cheaper buying a whole chicken. Because once I'm done with the chicken, right, I take it out of the little tray it comes in. I put it on some kitchen towels or a tea towel. It soaks up all of that juice so it doesn't go like jelly. And then I just remove all of the bit I haven't eaten, you know. And I just pull it, like, you know, like when you do pulled pork. I just pull the chicken so it's like shredded. And then I just put it in a container, and then I can have it for like lunches or pasta dishes. It's just really handy to have for multiple meals. And I didn't ever realise, you know, it might be a bit longer cooking it. That's why I said at the beginning, if you've got more time, do it that way. But it's another great piece of advice someone at work gave me. So thanks for that. You can even use it for things like lunches and salads. Oh, I don't know why I'm going so deep into that, but yeah, do that. I don't really have much time in the evenings, so I don't get to eat until like 8 p.m. So if I get the diced chicken or chicken breasts, I can still do quite a few meals with it. You know, just not as many if I had a whole chicken. You can make things like curries, pasta dishes. You can even make hunter's chicken or a mini roast type of meal. When I really can't be bothered to cook, I actually find a mini roast is easier than all the other things you do. Because all you got to do is chop the ends off some veg, chuck it in and cook it. Potatoes, they're the hardest part of a mini roast because you got to peel them. Some people don't peel them. Boil them, roast them, and they take about 45 minutes. 200 degrees on everything, remember that. And chicken breasts, you can either, there's many ways you can cook them, but you can use other meats instead of just chicken as well. So I just find mini roasts are really handy. Well, that's what I call them anyway. Most people won't call it that. But you're literally just dotting a few things on a plate. You're not actually combining them. You combine them when you're eating it, Also, my sister loves to wind me up. And last Christmas, she actually got me the best Christmas presents. It was so funny. I had been single for a long time. Everyone just mugs me off. And it's just like an ongoing joke between us that I was going to be single forever. And she got me all dick-related presents. And I'm not kidding. She got me like a dick-shaped game. She got me a cooking book called How to Cook Cock. Yeah? And I was like, what the hell? It was basically a cooking book, just how to cook chicken. So, different meals. And I always liked Hunter's chicken whenever I go to restaurants. And there was this meal that was really similar. And what you do is you use the chicken breasts. You cut them make it into like a sandwich. So you lay it flat, cut it through the middle, just a straight line. And you put bacon inside it. And a layer of cheese each side, and then you wrap it in bacon. So it's like a level 3000 of the Hunter's chicken. And I was like, oh my god, I can make that and have that as a meal on its own. I mean, I did make like chips and some veg on the side, but it was really nice. So definitely worth trying that. If you want me to ever share more of those how to cook cock, let me know. And maybe I'll make some videos because it'll probably be quite entertaining. When I'm doing my food shop, I always grab a packet of bacon. The dates are super lengthy. They usually last a couple of weeks. So it's great to add to most meals. Again, if you open it, seal it up. Bacon's really good to add to things like pasta bake when you're low on supplies of food or short of time. And those are my main meats. Meats for lunches, I tend to either use chicken I've already pre-cooked, or I grab tuna cans and make tuna pasta. I love a ham sandwich, so I grab a packet of ham. And my guilty pleasure is pork pies. Oh my god. I actually love pork pies. I actually fancy one right now. Snapping out of that one. So now the meat section of my food shopping list is complete. It's all in one section, which makes my shopping trip quick and easy. Once you get used to a supermarket you prefer, I'm just recommending the one that I've had the best experience with. What I would suggest is blocking them in the same areas, because this prevents you from getting distracted because you're spending so much time in one area of the shopping place. You don't look at the other surroundings, you're just grabbing what you know is on that shopping list. Now, depending on your chosen supermarket, you'll get to know the aisles and where stuff goes, so it does make the layout of your food shop a lot easier. Whereas if you go to shop in Tesco's, in Milton Keynes, the store near me starts with home, then fruit, then bread, then veg, then meat, and so forth. Anyway, back to how to write a shopping list. Now you've got your fridge supplies, so milk, juice and meats. What about fruit and veg? Now choosing veg is easier than you think. I just use the meats that I've written down on the shopping list to decide what fruit and veg I need. Well, not fruit, but you know what I mean. So I think, well, what veg is going to complement this meal? So when I get mince, I always get peppers because I love them in a spag bowl. I also get mushrooms and garlics, but that's not everyone's choice. And also my chosen seasonings, but obviously I usually have them still. You don't have to buy them every week. So for mince, I'd write peppers, garlic, onion. For chicken, I'd write broccoli, mushrooms, carrots, baby sweet corn. All of these ingredients can be used if you have a mini roast as well. Same with fish cakes and pies. I tend to get these items quite regularly. Or if you want to grab a Caesar salad, instead of buying it pre-made for lunch, you can make it. So I think it's romaine lettuce. I mix it with iceberg lettuce just because I prefer the taste of iceberg lettuce. And then sometimes I treat myself to a little bit of spinach in it, but I go through phases of spinach. Sometimes I really like it in food, and then sometimes it's just a noticeable taste I can't get rid of, so I just go through phases with it. I also get things like croutons, Parmesan cheese. That's a key ingredient in a Caesar salad. And I add extra things to it that I like. So obviously you put the chicken in it. I actually add a little bit of cooked pasta that's plain with just lightly salted. And I also always put cucumber in. I like having baby tomatoes in there, like the orange ones. And I also like having celery as like a side. I don't like it in the meal. I don't think it tastes that nice with it. Sometimes I switch it up if I get bored. So I get cabbage, green beans and corn on the cob. These are for my, ingredients for like if I was making a roast. I always get carrots though. They are so tasty. I never not like carrots unless they're well overcooked. So just don't do that. Always steam your veg if you can. Or my neighbour actually taught me how to roast veg, and I always thought I was going to burn it, but it's so nice. So yeah, do that. For lunches I try to be quite healthy. I'm not on a diet. I just try and have a balanced diet. So I get iceberg lettuce, cucumber, celery and those baby tomatoes. Always the orange ones, unless they don't do them. Then I just get them funky coloured ones. Just because they taste so much better. If you haven't tried them, get to know. You're in for a treat. Orange tomatoes are the way forward, I swear to you. Now, choosing fruit in the winter months, I'm so much more fussier. I feel like everything tastes different, but years ago I hated fruit and veg, so I always try new things. I always get bananas, I love a melon, and Granny Smith apples. And then in the summer months, I'll get cherries, strawberries, try new melons, whatever fruit I fancy at the time. It's a lot easier in the summer because everything tastes ripe, not squashy or too, you know what I mean, don't taste rotten. I always choose the fruit and veg options when they are loose. It's much cheaper this way because most of the time, unless you eat, say, 6 apples in a week or a bag of potatoes in a week, then get a bag. But for me, I never eat more than 3 potatoes in a week. So I always grab 3 loose potatoes, and sometimes in the winter I tend to get like loose apples, but in the summer I'll get bag. Now back to my list. I like to have some cheese with my lunches. So Baby Bells and cheese strings are a good fit. I actually love Baby Bells so much. Like, imagine if you could get an adult-sized Baby Bell. Nah, that would actually be insane. I would be well happy if you could get an adult-sized Baby Bell. I really hope someone does that. Like, I will advertise the fuck out of that for free. Okay? So if anyone from Baby Bell are listening, adult-sized Baby Bell, please. It's always good to have a block of cheese in the fridge too. So if you haven't got one, go get one. I also use a top tip I learnt from a good friend. I never knew this as well, and you'll probably laugh at me for not knowing this, but whenever you use a block of cheese, only chop off the bit you're using, don't take the whole block out of the packet, and never touch it with your fingers. Only chop off the bit you're using. And I know that cheese expiry dates last ages, but I couldn't figure out why mine kept going out of date, like every week or every time I used it. And it was only because I was touching it with my fingers, even if I washed them. Turns out, you make the cheese go out of date when you touch it. So I only handle the cheese with the wrapper. So thanks to my friend who told me that. Saved my cheese for over a month. Cheese blocks are expensive now, so it's probably pretty handy advice if you didn't know that, or you don't go through much cheese. And if you're laughing at me, good for you, because I didn't know, and it seems pretty logical now that I think about it. So now that you've roughly planned half your food shop list, just look over and check what's missing from the meals you have planned. I always stock up 1 spare jar of pasta sauce mix, so I tend to get at least 3 for a week, and then I'll have a spare, because if I don't use them then I've got plenty, but 9 times out of 10 I at least use 2 of them, just because it's easier than making your own sauce. But if you're any good at making any sauce, please let me know. I'd love to try some stuff, and if you're good at it, it probably saves you money. So yeah, I know the jars aren't really expensive, but if you're buying them when you can make them cheaper, definitely do that. Right, for curry I always get naan bread. And for spag bowl, or just as a snack, I religiously get garlic bread. I love it when I'm drunk as well. When I have pasta meals or just any time, garlic bread has a key to my heart. Do you know what? Making a podcast about food is making me so fucking hungry. But, I really want a garlic bread now. Yeah, just garlic bread is the winner. Now go to your seasoning shelf and see what's missing. When I first started cooking, I just experimented. I wasn't raised eating spicy food, so even if I try a meal with a spicy kick to it, I find it quite spicy. But like, even if the flavour tastes nice, it's either instant or delayed. I just get this really uncomfortable sensation of burning, and then I can't taste the food. And it's like visible on my tongue when I look in the mirror, like it's obviously burning my tongue. Like, I think when people are raised eating spicy food, it doesn't affect them the same way. They enjoy that kick. But because I was never raised eating it, I can't enjoy it, which is a massive shame. I even find things like pepper, as in this, like, you know, you get salt and pepper. Like, I find pepper so spicy. Do you know how fucking annoying that is? Like, I'll be enjoying a meal, and I'll take a bite in something else, like, I don't know, one of those sausages, and then I'll be like, oh my god, why is this so spicy? And people just look at me like, are you fucking insane? But it's not my fault. I've tried, okay? I've tried to widen my, what's it called? Palate? I don't know. Just spicy food is too uncomfortable for me to eat, which is actually really sad. Lol. I can enjoy chili flakes at TGI's when I get my sesame chicken strips with Jack Daniel's sauce. So half the meal, I have to just power through, you know? Like, the first half, I'm like, oh, this all tastes nice. And then it gets to, like, 5 minutes by, and I'm burning. And I'm just forcing this food in me because, one, I'm hungry. 2, I'm enjoying the flavour, but it's just burning my tongue. It just tastes so good. But I struggle because my eyes are watering, my mouth's on fire, just all my senses are irritated. Sometimes even my skin gets irritated. It's really strange. It's like, it looks like an allergy, but it's not. Because I have tons of allergies, so I know what that looks like. You can have flavourful meals without spices. Don't try and tell me you can't. I've lived 4 years in my own place figuring this out, so you can. I just go overboard, okay? So, you know, I use tons of different herbs. I use loads of different salts, like Himalayan salt. I bought that by accident once because I couldn't find the salt in Aldi. So I was like, well, pink salt, all right, I'll just try this, I'll get through it. And once I find the right salt. And now I only use that salt and garlic salt. And it just tastes so nice compared to regular salt. For someone listening that likes spicy food, you're probably thinking, oh yeah, bit of salt. But trust me, try loads of seasonings together. Like, I don't want to give the secrets of my fabulous spag bowl, but I put a lot of seasonings in there. You know, I put things like all these different Italian mixed herbs. So you get, obviously put garlic in first. Don't just get the granules, get the salt. They work well together. And then chop fresh garlic too. So you get that garlic flavour all over it. So it's too garlicky to kiss someone. Yeah? You're welcome. And then you want to be putting thyme. Oh, I don't want to give all the secrets out. But I do like a little bit of paprika. You know, you can get like these all season jars as well, so I get different ones and I mix them together. I tend to, when I make a meal, I tend to have about 6 different seasonings. I put loads of in, so it just adds loads of flavour to it. So yeah, if you don't like spicy food, you can find a group of seasonings that you like. I actually like to use rosemary in a lot of things, thyme, basil, which are really nice when you buy them in fresh as well. The pinkish tops are the spicy ones, or mild ones, and then the green ones are never spicy. So if you're ever unsure, that's a good way to look at it. You always want to ensure you always have enough butter, rice, pasta, and tins. I'm not really a huge fan of tinned food, to be honest. But I do get sweet corn, tuna, plum tomatoes, chopped tomatoes, and beans. And I always have soup stocked if I ever get poorly. Since living alone, I have learned to prefer fresh food, mainly because I don't actually own a freezer and I've lived in the smallest of flats, so I've never had space to buy one or store one, except, you know, just a fridge. Things I don't need that can seem expensive that I buy are treats, snacks, breakfast bars. I always choose the ones on offer, to be honest. If I've got a busy week ahead, I will buy eggs, sausage rolls for lunch and chuck lettuce in, tomatoes in, stuff like that. I don't have to like make lunch as such. I'm not a huge fan of breakfast. It just makes me feel sick. I force myself to eat it sometimes, so I usually have jam on toast or pancakes. Last things for your list is cleaning products and toiletries. So for me, skin cleansing products and scrubs are a must. Toothpaste is spare, shampoo and conditioner. So I'm always on the lookout for natural products and hair oil to keep it healthy. My hairdresser once told me that coconut oil isn't actually good for your hair. It's good for your skin, but not hair. So I always use argan oil now. I think it's because coconut oil has waterproof properties, something like that. So it never soaks into your hair, you know? I always make sure I have enough body wash, moisturiser, face cream, and first aid things like plasters, painkillers, hay fever tablets, and good cleaning products. I love those Scrub Daddy sponges. Total life changer, by the way. When washing up, it just gets everything off. A bit like that pink stuff, you know? And I'm not privileged to have a dishwasher. So yeah, washing dishes, I know, worst job ever. I actually used to pay my little sister to do it, but I was tight for money. So I had to stop and start doing it myself. Yuck. My friend told me to try the pink stuff products. I tried a few, but the one I loved the most is the paste. That stuff is like miracle working. It's really good on tough stains for your cooker and all sorts, honestly. Glass cleaner is good for windows, mirrors, and obviously anything else made of glass. I also get this cherry Sephora knockoff brand from Aldi. Can't remember what it's called, but I use it in the living room and bedroom. I found it because I was at a friend's once and become obsessed with the smell, so I had to ask what it was and grab that. I use it in the kitchen, but a lot of the time I tend to use the original Sephora in the kitchen, just because it has a different clean scent. It's really good for sides and tiles as well. Something I really don't understand is these TikToks and reels on Instagram of these people that put like tons of cleaning products in one area. Number one, what a waste. Number two, that is so bad for the environment. And number three, my lungs could never take those chemicals. Even with my front door wide open, I'd probably just pass out. If you clean regularly, why would you need to clean using that much product? It's just so crazy to me. Like these videos where these people put like 5 bottles of bleach down a toilet and then all this powder, so it's literally like so piled up to the top. There's no way you're scrubbing that properly if it's just liquid in there and chemicals. Like that's got to be so bad for you. It's not meant to be that clean. It's a toilet, you know? Anyway, back to the shopping list. I know I tend to go off conversations a little bit, but I can't help and be passionate, you know? Things you want to always check before you leave the house for your food shop to add to your list. You want cling film and tinfoil. Bin bags as well. Apparently they don't give you them for free, like I always believed when I was growing up. When you do your food shop, buy the insulated Aldi bags to reuse. They are really sturdy and great to use. They're actually handy for things like picnics and stuff as well, because it keeps ice packs frozen, keeps hot food hot, you know. I've never had any of them break on me, and I have loads of them, so save your pennies from buying bags every time. I know this all seems like a lot. Some really good advice I heard once was, it takes 21 days to start a habit, and it takes 90 days to create a lifestyle. This quote I found years ago, and I honestly can't remember who it come from, but it's so true, and it's the handiest piece of advice. If you budget your food shop and meal prep for 21 days, it becomes a habit. If you keep doing this for 3 months roughly, it will just become a lifestyle, like a second nature. It is really useful to do these things if you live on your own and you're trying to save money. Same goes for cleaning, regularly eating healthy, and keeping your environment clean and tidy. Your mental health will improve. I hate chores, but it's taken me years to remind myself to wash up whilst I'm cooking, to put my clothes washing in the basket or on a wash, to hang up dry clothes. Like, it is so long, but once you've done it, you feel glad you've done it. My mental health slips the minute I start abandoning these simple self-care tasks. I feel drained, I feel mentally in a mess, and I mean, to be honest, I suffer with OCD, so when I can't find something, I go into an episode of like mania. I feel crazy, I feel panicked, and I just feel like my life's pretty shit until I find it. That sounds actually ridiculous, but I swear to God, that's exactly how it is. I become obsessed, like I get these super obsessive thoughts, and then when I find the thing I was looking for, I realise after the episode that I've turned my whole house upside down. I have to clean a lot, and to be honest, I dread it because I'm super allergic to dust. So my skin swells up, my eyes swell up, my ears like get super itchy in the back of my mouth, just feels scratchy, dry, like cotton wool. It's just super itchy as well. All my senses get irritated, but if I don't clean, my OCD just freaks out and I'll get the same symptoms anyway. If I have a friend come over and it's messy, I just say, oh, sorry about the mess, you know, I just live here. And as funny and as lazy as that sounds, it is so true. Like, it doesn't need to be perfect, but organisation of knowing where things are good for your mind. Like an organised mess. And as long as it's clean, I don't really let it bother me too much. You know what I love about cleaning though? When your house or flat just looks brighter, like the sunlight bounces off everything and it glows. You can light some candles or have an oil burner, fill in the room with calm and essential oil scents. And I truly appreciate when I've had a night out drinking, bring friends over and clean the next day. I just light some incense, like those sticks or one of those waterfall burner cones, and I just watch the telly in the living room, and I just find it so satisfying. Like, it's just so calming, especially with a hangover when you get like anxiety. I don't know if anybody else gets it, but I know a couple of people that get anxiety when you're hungover. That tends to be when I get it the most anyway. Back to the food shop topic. Sometimes I'll do big food shop once a month. I don't do it very often now, but every now and again I'll stock up on big bags of pasta, toilet roll, tin cans, tea bags, sugar, toiletries and cleaning products, especially if these products are on an offer. Like, I can't resist it. It's funny how I've been in sales for 5 years and I just fall for these sales tactics so easily, and it's not always a person telling me, it's just a sign. I really hope you found this useful. These tips are what help me out a lot. Budget your food shop, but only what you need. Buy enough for lunches and dinner, and if you get breakfast, buy enough for that. I know students will find this really useful, and I've got a few more tips if you are really new to cooking for yourself. So take note of these or re-listen to this part of the episode. So to portion rice, get some measuring cups. Every 1 cup of rice, you add 2 cups of water. You need a saucepan, a lid, and you stir every so often, but not constantly. So don't stir it too much. You just want to stir it every now and again, basically just to check it's not on the bottom. Like, it's not sticking to the bottom and the water's getting around everywhere. Well, that's why I do it anyway, but if you leave it, it goes weird, and if you stir it too much, it just turns all slushy, if that makes sense. You want to put it on a medium heat. For me, that is actually too much rice, but that is the standard portion size for one person. I usually half it, so if you find you're getting way too much rice, half it, or cook enough and reheat it. Like, if you're cooking a whole meal, just cook enough for 2 and reheat it, and then portion it, so put half in a Tupperware box for your next dinner. If you have a freezer, you can probably freeze these meals and then defrost them, microwave them, however you like. To know when rice is cooked, as long as you have measured your rice correctly, there won't be any water left. Like, it will look a bit wet, obviously, but fluffy, if that makes sense. So, you know, it will shine at you, but there won't be any visible volumes of water in there. So give it a stir. If you don't see any water at the bottom, take it off the heat, stir it quick, like just spin around a couple times. Just leave it for a second to soak up the rest of that water. So another tip, when cooking pasta for one, I use 2 handfuls. Practicing this yourself though, and writing a note for yourself to figure out the best amount for you is what I'd recommend. We all have different hand sizes, obviously. So I usually do 2 hands, just because that's perfect amount for me. A really good life hack is a slow cooker. They're really not that expensive. I got 3.5 litre one from Groupon for like 30 quid. You can cook a whole roast in there if you really wanted to, or a whole fry up. I find it really helpful to prep a casserole or soup in the winter, but just really handy if you're short of time. And because you can leave it to cook on a low heat for like 8 hours, ready for when you get home to eat. That is really, really useful if you haven't got loads of time on your hands to prep meals and stuff. You can just chuck it in there in the morning and job's a good one. Jacket potatoes also cook really well in a slow cooker. I think they cook for about 8 hours or 7 hours, or on a high heat it's like 3 hours. I actually learned how to cook boiled eggs online. I don't have an egg timer, so this irrelevant piece of information you probably already knew. It takes about 10 to 12 minutes to cook a boiled egg if you want to put it in like an egg salad or a snack for lunch. Now, I learnt this in lockdown, and I know nobody cares about this, but I just feel like I could share it for someone that's, you know, not sure or wants to try and cook things slightly differently. So my neighbour taught me how to make a McDonald's when it was shut in lockdown, because I don't know, when you're bored at home, you fancy takeaway more, I think. So my neighbour taught me how to make McDonald's when it was shut. You remember in the first lockdown where every single thing was shut, even takeaways? So I asked my neighbour how to teach me, like, how do I cook the chips, how do I cook the burger, just because I didn't know. I know a lot of things have instructions on, but the one I bought at the time didn't. And obviously potatoes don't come with instructions, and I don't have a fryer. So it turns out you can save washing up because you can cook it all on one tray. I would peel the potatoes, chop them into chips, preheat the oven on like 200 degrees, oil it up in a baking tray with tinfoil over as a base. It protects the life of your baking tray if you do that, and it is easier to get it off if it sticks. You can use any oil you prefer. I like olive oil, garlic oil, or sesame seed oil. I make a tiny wall 1/3 of the way of the tray with the tinfoil. So what I do is I lay it all out, I make it longer than it needs to be, and then I sort of estimate the width of the burger, and I just fold a little wall in the middle like a partition, and then that way the burger doesn't cook with the fries. You know, they're technically separate entities. When the tray is heated up, I put the burgers on the smaller side of the tray, and then I spread the chips out on the larger side of the tinfoil. Add a little more oil to the chips and season it all, but any kind of seasoning on you like. I tend to like to chop up garlic and onions as well, but I add a load of seasoning on top as well to add a nice flavour. Fill the whole thing up with flavour. It actually tastes so much better than a McDonald's, and it will sort of put you off McDonald's, to be honest, so maybe don't do this if you love a McDonald's. All of this will cook in 30 minutes at 200 degrees Celsius. You can turn it over halfway when it's cooking, but I just leave it, to be honest, because I forget. I use brioche buns. I have gherkins with cheese that comes in those little plastic sheets that you open. I add lettuce to the plate and in the burger. And I know this sounds really bad, but when you finish eating the chips, you should dip your lettuce that's on the side in the remains of the vinegar that you put on the chips, like the vinegar and the salt, and it actually tastes really nice. If you're unsure what salt to choose, Himalayan salt does taste the best to me, and I wouldn't change it now. It tastes so much better, and it's apparently better for you. I have one of those Himalayan salt lamps by my bed because it's meant to improve eczema, asthma and hay fever, and they're all the issues I have. I've had it for a few years now and it's shrunk a little. However, I don't know if it gives me the same healing properties that it used to, so someone could fill me in about those, please. I actually did get a couple cookbooks, and most of the recipes have things in that I don't like, so I would just swap the items for things I did like and leave them out. So I love mushrooms. I tend to swap them for a lot of things. They are really good for you, especially for protein, so using them to swap for things is really useful for me, although I actually love mushrooms, so I'm sorry if that's an unpopular opinion, but to gross you out, I can actually eat them raw as well. You can get these fajita boxes, like a kit as such. You know, you can get those like taco ones as well. And I make enchiladas. So the sauce you make, you can put inside the wrap and over the top, and then add cheese, bake in the oven at 200 degrees for like 10 minutes. To be honest, I only learnt that the fajita boxes you can make enchiladas because I assumed that's what I bought at the time. I thought I bought enchiladas, so I already roughly knew how to make them. You know, you just put everything inside that you put on the top, so that's what I did. And it was only when I was putting the box in the bin, it was like, it's a fajita box. I was like, oh, right. Some of you who like spicy food are not gonna like this next comment. However, if you have something that kicks a bit, you know, it's a bit spicy and you want to dial down the spiciness, if you sprinkle a bit of sugar on, it will actually cancel out a lot of the spice to it. So whenever I'm cooking something and I know it's got a spice to it, it's usually when I have guests that I do this, because I know other people like spicy food or a kick in flavour. I will dish up everyone else's, and then just before I dish up mine, I'll sprinkle like half a teaspoon of sugar over it and just mix it all in and leave it for like an extra minute, just so it sort of takes off the sharpness of the burn in my mouth, if that makes sense. If you are ever in doubt, just remember everything cooks at 200 degrees Celsius in the oven. Something I found hard when looking for new recipes was everything online is in American measurements. Like, the only recipe I could remember cooking in school was baking a bloody cake. Like 100, 2 eggs. So that's 100 grams of self-raising flour, 100 grams of sugar, 100 grams of butter, plus 2 eggs. A simple sponge cake recipe though. Can't quite live off cake though, can I? Everything is a Google away. You can prep the recipe and swap things out as much as you like. In 2021, I tried out Gusto Recipes. So this is like a meal prep company that sends you the exact portions to cook meals. It's usually like portions of 4 or portions of 2. The best thing about it is you get to keep the recipe card, so they have a picture on the front so you remember it if you liked it or not. My experience wasn't too bad at first. I really enjoyed the meals and flavour. They were quick and easy. Just remember to prep everything before you actually cook it. When you're doing it, it's telling you like, do this while this is cooking, do this, this and this, and it's telling you an order. But to be honest, don't put anything on heat and don't combine anything get everything ready and read the instructions and just see what can be ready and just sat there for when to add it, because I've burnt stuff before using Gusto recipes just because it's quite fast paced and it's really quick. I just find when you're learning to do something, I need to take my time a bit more and actually learn it and understand it. So prep everything first when you're new to it. I also say this because they just assume you can chop food at lightning speed and have 8 hands for 8 things at once. Once you remember how to do it, it is fast and easy though to make the recipes. But when I learn things, I like to take my time and fully learn. For me, it ended up costing a bit too much, as I would spend the same on food shops alone, and a couple of times they messed up my order. And it was the same, like, in consecutively, like 1 week, they missed out the chicken and I literally only ordered chicken meals. That wasn't great. And then a week after, I think, like, one of the items was out of date, like it was rotten. But before that, for like 6 weeks, everything was perfect. I tried another company called HelloFresh. The literally same thing happened. It must have just been bad for all of them. Like, I imagine a lot of them get from the same supplier, and it was just unlucky because beforehand I really enjoyed Gusto, and then I just had all this bad luck at once. I do prefer the taste of Gusto recipes though, so if you haven't got time to do food shops, this is a good route to take. They deliver to your door weekly. You go on the website and choose the recipes, and if you forget, they just send you random ones anyway. The best thing about it is you can cancel at any time. There are loads of incentives to save money by sharing it to friends, and you get a whole new range of recipes every week. Also, not only do they deliver to your door, even if you're not home, they'll just leave it on your doorstep. I find that really helpful. You know, I'm never home, and coming home, they store all of the food and they make like a mini fridge inside. So they've got like ice packs that insulate the stuff that needs to be kept in the fridge. So that was really useful for me. I did actually really enjoy all that process, but I'm back to budgeting currently as I'm in debt and broke. So I'll be steering clear for a while. I wish TikTok was a thing when I first moved out. Like, there are a lot of pages where people do like student meals, cooking for one, or budgeting. So you'll find stuff like that very useful. If you would like any more of my advice or wish to ask any questions, please drop me a DM on Instagram. It's at podcast.j. I'm more than happy to share my advice. And if you'd like me to discuss something in future episodes, I'd really like it if you guys could get involved. Being independent is on the rise, and I feel like so many of us do not have the advice we need or want. You might learn from my mistakes or listen to my episodes and figure out ways to do it better than me. So if you do, please tell me. I love trying new things and ways. I would love to share if someone's advice was better than mine. Please make sure you follow, like, subscribe and rate on any platform that you listen to me on. If you find me useful, please let me know. If you want me to discuss more about certain topics, I'll share my best knowledge. And if I'm not fully equipped, I will definitely do the research for you. I am here at your disposal. I really hope you enjoyed this episode and learned some new things. See you next time. Love, Jay.